Stuntmen's livelihood is dependent on being able to work from movie to movie. And so I take extra precautions not to hurt any of my stuntmen.
Chuck Norris has never been the type of guy who speaks louder than he acts. Whether he was roundhouse kicking bad guys on Walker, Texas Ranger, or breaking boards in real life, he established himself as a man who remained calm, respectful, and kept his personal opinions to himself. He wasn't the type to get involved in Hollywood drama. But recently, things have shifted. In a dramatic and tearful moment, Chuck finally broke his silence, and what he revealed stunned fans. For the first time in history, he spoke out against 5 actors whom he detests. No one would have expected this from the man known for keeping things businesslike. But perhaps that's what makes it all the more significant. After decades of silence, Chuck felt it was time to set the record straight. So what got the martial arts legend to finally speak out, and who are these actors that riled him up? Early life and career. Chuck Norris was born on March 10, 1940, in Ryan, Oklahoma. His mother, Wilma, was Irish, and his father, Ray D. Norris, was Cherokee. Ray held many jobs. He was a World War II veteran, a mechanic, and a bus and truck driver. Chuck was the eldest of 3 brothers. His younger brother Wieland once told him he wouldn't live past 27, and tragically, that turned out to be true. Wieland died in the Vietnam War in 1970. When Chuck was 16, his parents divorced, and he moved with his mother and brothers to Prairie Village, Kansas, and later to Torrance, California. Chuck didn't have an easy childhood. He described himself as shy, not very athletic, and just an average student. His father was often absent, frequently on drinking sprees, which added more instability at home. All of this made Chuck deeply introverted. In 1958, he enlisted in the U.S. Air Force and was deployed to South Korea. It was there that he picked up the nickname, Chuck, and discovered martial arts, Tang Soo Do, to be specific. He trained hard and eventually earned a black belt. Upon returning to the U.S., he continued working for the Air Force in California while hoping to get hired by the police department. In the meantime, he opened his first martial arts studio. At first, Chuck wasn't a dominant martial arts competitor. He lost some early matches. But by 1967, he began winning top tournaments and even defeated legendary fighters like Joe Louis. He opened additional karate schools and trained celebrities such as Steve McQueen, Bob Barker, and Donny Osmond. His final martial arts loss came in 1968, the same year he won the middleweight karate championship, a title he held for 6 consecutive years. After retiring undefeated, he became close friends with Bruce Lee. In 1972, Chuck played the antagonist in Lee's Way of the Dragon, which was a major box office hit and established Chuck's fame. Encouraged by Steve McQueen, he took acting classes, and his first starring role came in Breaker. In 1977, followed by Good Guys Wear Black in 1978. Despite being produced on a small budget, the film earned millions and made Chuck the first major American martial arts movie star. Unlike the Hong Kong kung fu films popular at the time, Chuck's movies had American settings and storylines. In 1979, he starred in A Force of One, playing a karate champ who helps the police solve a case. The film earned $20 million despite initially having no studio support. In 1980, The Octagon became another success, grossing nearly $19 million. His first major studio film, Silent Rage, came in 1982, distributed by Columbia Pictures. That same year, MGM signed him to a 3-picture deal and released Forced Vengeance, though Chuck wasn't happy with the direction and ended the contract. His 1983 hit Lone Wolf McQuade, in which he played a gritty Texas Ranger, earned high praise. Roger Ebert gave it 3.5 stars and called his character iconic. Chuck continued to dominate the box office in the 1980s, appearing in films like Missing in Action, Invasion USA, and The Delta Force. His popularity even extended to a cartoon series, Karate Commandos, and a video game, Chuck Norris Superkicks. In 1987, he co-authored a best-selling self-help book, The Secret of Inner Strength. His 1984 film Missing in Action, in which he played a Vietnam vet rescuing POWs, was inspired by the memory of his late brother. Personal life and beliefs. Chuck Norris married his high school sweetheart, Diane K. Holchek, in 1958. They had 2 sons, and Chuck also fathered a daughter from an affair in 1963. He and Diane divorced after 30 years in 1989. In 1998, Chuck remarried to Gina O'Kelly, a former model 23 years his junior. They had twins in 2001. Chuck didn't meet his daughter from the earlier affair until she was 26, after she wrote him an emotional letter. He now has 13 grandchildren. Chuck has always been open about his conservative beliefs. A fan of Ronald Reagan, he began publicly supporting Republican candidates in the 2000s. He endorsed Mike Huckabee, Mitt Romney, Ted Cruz, and even Donald Trump. He has written columns for far-right sites and spoken out on controversial issues like same-sex marriage, Sharia law, and gun rights. He endorsed California's Proposition 8 in 2008, which sought to ban same-sex marriage. Though it passed, it was later ruled unconstitutional. Chuck defended his stance, arguing it was about preserving traditional values, though critics claimed his support helped fuel discrimination. Criticism and internet fame. Chuck's long-running show Walker, Texas Ranger, 1993 to 2001, was a ratings hit but also faced criticism for glorifying police violence. A UCLA study in 1995 raised concerns about its influence on young viewers. Chuck defended the show, saying the action was always framed within a moral context. In 2005, Chuck Norris facts exploded online, making him an internet legend. The over-the-top jokes about his toughness, like, "Chuck Norris doesn't sleep, he waits," became wildly popular. Chuck responded graciously, saying he appreciated the humor but hoped fans would also learn real facts about his life. Though he later sued a publisher for using his name in a book, he dropped the case and eventually published his own official Chuck Norris fact book. Family health scare. In 2012, Chuck's wife Gina suffered severe health issues after undergoing 3 MRI scans in just 8 days. She blamed gadolinium-based contrast agents used in the procedures and filed a lawsuit against several manufacturers. Though the FDA has issued warnings about gadolinium buildup, it has yet to declare it definitively dangerous. Gina continues to suffer from pain and discomfort, and her case drew attention to the risks of certain MRI chemicals. False accusations and viral mistakes. In January 2021, a photo of someone who looked like Chuck at the Capitol riot went viral. Chuck quickly denied the rumor, tweeting that it wasn't him. His rep confirmed he was at home in Texas with his family. The situation highlighted how fast misinformation can spread in the digital age. Years later, on November 28, 1998, Chuck Norris married again and fell in love with Gina O'Kelly, a former model who was 23 years younger than him. Gina had 2 children from a previous relationship, and together, she and Chuck welcomed twins on August 30, 2001. In a 2004 interview with Entertainment Tonight, Chuck shared a deeply personal story. He revealed that he hadn't met his daughter from a past affair until she was 26 years old, even though she had discovered he was her father at age 16. It wasn't until she wrote him an emotional letter in 1990, just after his divorce from Diane, that they finally met and began to build a relationship. Since 2017, Chuck has also embraced the role of grandfather. He now has 13 grandchildren. Despite the rocky paths of love and family, Chuck has consistently made the effort to stay connected and take responsibility for his choices. Politically, Chuck Norris is a proud conservative and a staunch supporter of Republican ideals. He has even written columns for the far-right website WorldNet Daily and has never hesitated to voice his opinions. Back in the 1980s, following the success of Missing in Action, he expressed great admiration for President Ronald Reagan, valuing Reagan's honesty and strong leadership. Chuck stated he wasn't driven by party lines but rather by the integrity of individuals. While filming the Delta Force, he publicly criticized America's lenient approach toward terrorism, warning that such threats could one day reach American or Canadian soil. In 2007, Chuck traveled to Iraq to support U.S. troops, reinforcing his patriotic stance. In the 2008 U.S. presidential election, he endorsed Republican candidate Mike Huckabee, even criticizing John McCain for being too old to serve. Nonetheless, he ultimately supported McCain due to his approval of Sarah Palin as vice president. That same year, Chuck backed California's Proposition 8, a controversial measure to ban same-sex marriage. He believed that opponents were ignoring the will of the voters and compared the protests to acts of anarchy. Critics, however, argued that his support for the proposition promoted discrimination and marginalized LGBTQ+ individuals. The debate highlighted the societal divide on marriage equality and how celebrities can influence public discourse. Despite the backlash, Chuck stood firm in his beliefs, aligning himself with conservative and religious groups. Though Proposition 8 was ruled unconstitutional in 2010, the controversy surrounding it remains a landmark moment in the discussion around civil rights and celebrity influence. Chuck's political involvement didn't stop there. He continued voicing strong opinions, questioning Barack Obama's birthplace in 2009 and criticizing the Obama administration's stance on issues like Sharia law and changes to the Boy Scouts. Over the years, he supported multiple Republican figures, including Ron Paul, Newt Gingrich, Mitt Romney, Ted Cruz, and even scandal-ridden candidates like Roy Moore and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. In 2019, Chuck partnered with gun manufacturer Glock, which drew criticism amid rising concerns about school shootings. Then, in 2021, he endorsed the recall of California Governor Gavin Newsom, throwing his support behind talk show host Larry Elder as a replacement. No matter how controversial his views, Chuck has always remained vocal and loyal to his principles. Chuck Norris's television series Walker, Texas Ranger, 1993 to 2001, became a fan favorite for its thrilling action and justice-driven plotlines, but it was not without criticism. Reviewers accused the show of glamorizing violence and portraying excessive force by law enforcement. A 1993 review cited a scene where Walker silences a suspect, who wasn't read his Miranda rights, with a brutal kick, suggesting the show could warp public perception of police behavior. A 1995 UCLA study also flagged the program for its prolonged graphic fight scenes, raising concerns about its impact on younger viewers. Chuck defended the show, stating, "There's a lot of action, but it's all done with a moral background. It's justice fighting injustice." Despite the controversy, the show maintained high ratings, indicating that its message of good triumphing over evil resonated with a large audience. When labeled the most violent man on television in an ABC special, Chuck felt misrepresented, believing the show's values were being misunderstood. In 2005, a humorous internet trend called Chuck Norris Facts exploded across the web. Though jokes about Chuck's invincibility had circulated for years, the trend caught fire on forums like Something Awful, especially after users began mocking Vin Diesel's film The Pacifier. Soon, the focus shifted to Chuck, and absurdly exaggerated jokes about his toughness, such as, "Chuck Norris doesn't sleep, he waits," became viral sensations. These jokes also reference recurring gags from Late Night with Conan O'Brien, where Conan poked fun at Chuck's Walker character. One comedian, Ian Spector, is widely credited as the creator of the Chuck Norris Facts movement. He developed online generators that allowed fans to create their own facts, and even published best-selling books like The Truth About Chuck Norris, 400 Facts About the World's Greatest Human in 2007. Chuck responded to the phenomenon with grace and humility. On his official website, he acknowledged that some of the jokes were funny, but he urged fans to learn more about the real man behind the myth. In 2006, he even wrote a column in WorldNet Daily where he deflected the attention to his faith, praising God and Jesus Christ. However, not all responses to the trend were lighthearted. In 2007, Chuck sued Penguin USA, the publisher of Spector's book, arguing it infringed on his privacy and trademark. He dropped the suit in 2008, but later collaborated with Spector to release the official Chuck Norris Fact book. Over time, these exaggerated facts became embedded in pop culture, appearing in ads, TV shows, and even movies. In The Expendables 2, 2012, a character jokes, "Chuck Norris was bitten by a king cobra. After 5 days of excruciating pain, the cobra died." The trend continued even into 2017, when a United Healthcare commercial poked fun at Chuck's mythical image. All this proves that Chuck Norris, beyond being an action icon, has become a timeless symbol of strength, humor, and enduring internet fame. Chuck Norris has never been the kind of man who speaks louder than he acts. Whether it was roundhouse kicking bad guys on Walker, Texas Ranger, or breaking boards in real life, he built a reputation as someone calm, respectful, and reserved. He avoided Hollywood drama and generally kept his personal opinions to himself. But recently, that changed. In a surprising and emotional moment, Chuck broke his silence and made a revelation that stunned fans. He spoke out against 5 actors he personally detests. For a man who always maintained a professional demeanor, this was a striking shift, and perhaps that's what made it so significant. After decades of silence, Chuck felt it was finally time to set the record straight. Born on March 10, 1940, in Ryan, Oklahoma, Chuck Norris's early life was shaped by hardship. His mother Wilma was of Irish descent, and his father Ray D. Norris was Cherokee. Ray held various jobs: a war veteran, a mechanic, and a truck driver, but he also struggled with alcoholism. Chuck was the oldest of 3 brothers. His younger brother Wieland once told Chuck he wouldn't live past 27, and tragically, he was right. Wieland died in the Vietnam War in 1970. At 16, Chuck's parents divorced, and his mother moved the family to Kansas, and later, to Torrance, California. Shy and average in school, Chuck wasn't athletic or confident, especially with his father absent and the home life strained. In 1958, Chuck joined the U.S. Air Force and was stationed in South Korea, where he earned the nickname Chuck and discovered martial arts, Tang Soo Do, to be specific. He trained diligently and earned a black belt. After returning to the U.S., he worked for the Air Force in California and opened a martial arts studio while waiting to join the police department. His martial arts journey wasn't smooth at first. He lost early matches but kept pushing. In 1967, he started winning major tournaments, even defeating legends like Joe Louis. Over the years, he opened more karate schools and trained celebrities such as Steve McQueen, Bob Barker, and Donny Osmond. Chuck's final competitive loss was in 1968, but that same year, he won the middleweight karate championship and held the title for 6 years. He retired undefeated and befriended Bruce Lee, who cast him as the main villain in Way of the Dragon, 1972. The film was a success and made Chuck a recognizable name. Inspired by McQueen, he enrolled in acting school and landed lead roles in films like Breaker, 1977, and Good Guys Wear Black, 1978, the latter of which became a hit despite a shoestring budget. Unlike Hong Kong kung fu movies, his films were American-based and appealed to a broad audience. He followed with A Force of One, The Octagon, and Silent Rage, all of which elevated his stardom. MGM signed him to a 3-film deal, though Chuck ended it early due to creative differences. His 1983 film Lone Wolf McQuade was a critical success, even compared to spaghetti westerns. That same year, he introduced a fitness book and later a video game, Chuck Norris Superkicks. Chuck's popularity exploded in the mid-1980s with Missing in Action, inspired by his late brother's Vietnam service. He followed with Code of Silence, 1985, Invasion USA, and the Delta Force alongside Lee Marvin in 1986. He even voiced an animated series, Karate Commandos, and co-authored a self-help book titled The Secret of Inner Strength. In his personal life, Chuck married his high school sweetheart Diane in 1958. They had 2 sons, and Chuck fathered a daughter from an affair in 1963. He and Diane divorced in 1988 after 30 years of marriage. He remarried on November 28, 1998, to former model Gina O'Kelly, who was 23 years younger and had 2 kids from a previous relationship. Together, they had twins in 2001. In a 2004 interview, Chuck shared that he didn't meet his daughter from the affair until she was 26, even though she learned he was her father at 16. It wasn't until she sent him a heartfelt letter in 1990 that they finally connected. Since 2017, Chuck has been a grandfather. He now has 13 grandkids. Despite a rocky journey with love and family, Chuck consistently took responsibility and stayed in contact with his loved ones. Politically, Chuck is a staunch conservative and Republican supporter. In the 1980s, after missing in action, he praised Ronald Reagan's leadership and said he cared more about character than political parties. During the Delta Force shoot, he warned about the dangers of terrorism and argued the U.S. was being too lenient. In 2007, he visited U.S. troops in Iraq, and in 2008, he endorsed Mike Huckabee for president, later supporting John McCain due to his admiration for Sarah Palin. That same year, he supported California's controversial Proposition 8, which banned same-sex marriage. He argued it wasn't about stripping rights, but about preserving traditional beliefs, though LGBTQ+ groups disagreed. He continued voicing opinions about Sharia law, the Obama administration's policies, and supported candidates like Ron Paul, Mitt Romney, Ted Cruz, and Roy Moore. In 2019, he partnered with Glock, frustrating some fans amid rising gun violence. In 2021, he backed the recall of California Governor Gavin Newsom and endorsed Larry Elder as his replacement. Chuck's strong support of Proposition 8 stirred major backlash. He stood firm with conservative and religious groups, but critics argued his stance marginalized LGBTQ+ individuals. Though the proposition was ruled unconstitutional in 2010, the incident underscored the polarizing effect of celebrity endorsements in civil rights matters. His show Walker, Texas Ranger, 1993 to 2001, drew immense popularity but also criticism for glorifying violence and law enforcement brutality. A UCLA study cited its graphic combat scenes and potential negative influence on youth. In one scene, Walker knocks out a suspect who complains about not being read his rights. Chuck defended the show, saying it had a strong moral compass. "There's a lot of action, but it's all done with a moral background. It's justice fighting injustice." Despite criticism, the show was a hit and portrayed a clear-cut view of good versus evil. In 2005, Chuck became an unexpected internet sensation with the viral Chuck Norris Facts. Originating from forum jokes mocking Vin Diesel, the meme transformed Chuck into a larger-than-life figure. Comedian Ian Spector compiled many of the jokes into books like The Truth About Chuck Norris and Chuck Norris vs. Mr. T. Chuck responded modestly, saying some were funny but hoped they'd encourage fans to learn real facts about his life. In 2007, he sued Penguin USA over unauthorized use of his name but dropped the case in 2008. He later published an official fact book and accepted the humor graciously, even if it sometimes overshadowed the man behind the myth. In 2012, Chuck's wife Gina filed a lawsuit alleging that gadolinium-based contrast agents used in MRI scans had poisoned her. After receiving 3 scans in 8 days, she experienced severe pain and neurological symptoms. Despite extensive treatments, including travel to China for alternative therapies, her health issues persisted. Her lawsuit brought renewed attention to the potential risks of gadolinium accumulation, especially after the FDA issued a warning in 2015. The outcome of her legal battle remains uncertain, but it's raised awareness and could inspire further research. Chuck also found himself at the center of a bizarre controversy in 2021 when a photo circulated online suggesting he had participated in the Capitol riots. The man in the photo looked similar, but Chuck quickly denied involvement, stating he was at home in Texas with family. His team confirmed his alibi, and eventually, the look-alike was identified. Still, the incident showed how easily misinformation can spread, especially when it involves a celebrity. As for the actors Chuck Norris reportedly dislikes, first is Jean-Claude Van Damme. In the 1980s, Van Damme worked odd jobs in Hollywood and was briefly employed at a bar owned by Chuck. Though they were once friendly, things soured over time. Rumors of a film collaboration fizzled, and Chuck allegedly criticized Van Damme's discipline during a 2001 martial arts event. Despite tension, both became global stars, just never on the same screen. Then there's Steven Seagal. In the 1990s, Seagal made controversial statements claiming American martial artists, including Norris and Bruce Lee, weren't legitimate. This offended many, and a group of elite martial artists known as the Dirty Dozen challenged Seagal to a fight. He refused. The incident revealed the importance of respect in martial arts, with Chuck siding against Seagal. Another tension was with Alec Baldwin. A vocal liberal, Baldwin mocked Donald Trump on SNL, drawing ire from conservatives like Chuck. Though Norris didn't name him, a 2017 blog post criticizing Hollywood elites was widely believed to be aimed at Baldwin, reflecting the cultural divide in Tinseltown. The fourth is Shia LaBeouf. In the late 2010s, the two allegedly worked on a commercial, but Chuck was unimpressed with Shia's behavior and work ethic. A since-deleted Facebook post by Chuck, "Fame without discipline is chaos," was seen as a veiled jab at LaBeouf, whose reputation for erratic behavior was well known. Chuck Norris, a man of quiet strength, has long avoided gossip and feuds. But when he finally opened up, it revealed not just conflicts, but a deeper look at his values, his legacy, and the battles he chooses to fight. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Chuck Norris's life and rivalries, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more compelling stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.